We've become a little bit too dependent on subscriptions, from movies to music to even our own data. I like keeping my own files on my own drives at home, especially the crucial stuff that I really don't want to be somewhere where I have to pay for the storage. I've been looking at NAS solutions for quite some time. In simple terms, NAS is your home personal cloud that you can add more drives to it whenever you need it, but also something you don't have to pay monthly for. So I was pretty stoked when Zima got in touch saying that they will send me a review model of their personal cloud. So don't treat this as any kind of review. It's more of an idiot's guide to NAS solutions. And we'll test the claims whether this is such a plug-and-play system as they claim it to be. So get ready for a ride. Right. Points for packing. That's cube in a cube. Let's put some drives in, hook this up to a router, and see how easy it is to get it started. So I've got two Iron Wolves, both 4 terabytes. You can put SSDs into this as well, but sadly, I don't have any just now. Oh, this is fancy. So it's just press, and pull. So this goes in here like that, but you still need to screw it in. There's little holes here. There's no quick release for the drive. Let's get this hooked up. Let's get the power supply. Apparently you can customize LEDs on this, so we'll check that later. It's looking for network, and it says that there's gonna be an app for it soon. This is still searching for the device. I am a little bit surprised that they don't have an iOS app just yet. It says it's coming soon, hopefully. But for now, we have to log in onto the big guy and see if this is gonna actually work. As soon as I started logging in, I had a phone call from my business saying that there's a massive dumpster fire, almost literally, that I had to sort out, and that took almost a week, and I haven't touched NAS for a week. However, I've managed to log in just now. It was that simple. There are a few little quirks if you're using Mac, which I'll show in a second, but beyond that, yeah, it connected to the NAS station. Now, most of the reviews I've seen were basically unboxing impressions, and I'm not really into that stuff. So I want to run this for a while, so probably I'll leave it for like maybe a couple of weeks. I've got a couple of remote projects I need to work on. So this solution should test itself in a way, and I will come back to you with the findings. Just quickly on the Mac issue. If you're using a Mac, you'll probably log in as a default through Safari. Problem with Safari and the Zima's operating system is that doesn't show all the options on Safari browsers. And I don't know if it's down to the fact that Safari doesn't run some scripts, or maybe it's just the poor design of the software itself. And I know Zima can run any NAS software there is, but for the sake of this particular review, taking it out of the box, plugging it in, and making sure it works for everyday creator like me, I really don't want to play around with changing the software on it. So the solution to that is very simple. You have to log in through Chrome, which isn't ideal if it's not your main browser. For a lot of people it is. I personally don't use it that often because it eats up RAM for breakfast. However, for Zima, you have to make some sacrifices. If you're logging in through Safari, you're going to see this screen. Well, if you're logging in through Chrome, you're going to see the same screen. This is your basic dashboard of the Zima OS. Now, if you go into settings, for example, and if I'm going to click on storage, now all my drives are showing as they are. So we've got 3 hard drives, all 4 terabytes. And yeah, I've added the third one because I just remembered that I need at least 3 drives for RAID setup. But there is no button to combine them as a RAID. And I was clicking through everything, looking through documentation and saying like, oh, just click on storage. Well, there's nothing here. If you highlight this text here, I just figured out there's hidden text here. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, so this is fairly clear, but how the hell do I do that? Now, it turns out there's buttons here hidden as well. So I was playing around with a few things, but I logged in onto Chrome, and on the Chrome it looks like that. Everything's just shown here. So when you're logging in, just use Chrome for just sake of your sanity. And then, yeah, you could just go in here. You can disable each of the drives. So we're going to do this just now and see if we can combine them into RAID setup. Now, you've got 3 options only. You've got RAID 0, which gives you the most capacity, but that basically means it combines the space of all 3 or 4 or 5 drives, however many you've got there, and gives you this one massive space to use. Problem with RAID 0 is that it's basically, there's no fail safes. So if one of the drives fails, all your files are gone. RAID 1 is the safest, but oh my god, it basically takes half of your capacity. I've been using RAID 5 in the past, and that kind of works best because you've got the kind of a good balance between security and the capacity. And obviously you need at least 3 drives for that. So let's click on this. So you can see there's 3 hard drives. You can select which ones you want to add to this. Obviously, you know, they're all the same size. Your first drive, your main drive should be the biggest one if you've got different size drives, but you shouldn't, because otherwise they're all going to operate at the smallest drive kind of capacity, if that makes sense, combined capacity. And then obviously you can add your SSDs if you've got any. I don't, so there we go. So I've got still loads of room to play with here with. So we've got a RAID 5 selected. Estimated storage available is going to be 8 terabytes. So effectively one of the drives is going to be used as a failsafe for your files. So we're going to click next. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Main storage. I'm going to call it RAID 1 because I will use separate drives for something different and I want them fully encrypted, whereas this one is just general use for my editing files so that I need to access on the road or share with my clients. Basically, I'm just creating a cloud solution for myself. So let's do create. And it's creating. Cool, we're sorted. View files. Sweet, there's no files. View files, what files? Okay, let's quit this. Now to access the files through the Finder, the easiest way to do this is to click on Shared, go into your RAID 1 or however you called your setup, and then click here, go to Manage Share, and you can either add a guest, so basically anyone who's connected to your network will see that drive listed within your networks, or you can go in a Finder or Internet Explorer if you're Windows. We're not judging here. You can use Windows if you want. Everybody's equal. You click on Go, and then you select Connect to the server. Type that in, or copy and paste, and click Connect. Now you'll have your password, so then it will show up under the Zima Cube RAID 1. Job's a good one. So you can transfer the files onto here. I'll do some speed tests, both internally and when I'm outside. And yeah, I'll report back after a few weeks and see if this thing is actually worth your money or not. I've spent about a week and a half testing the Zima Cube Personal Cloud. This is not a pro version, by the way. I'm not a big enough account to get a free pro. And because it's been sent over, I don't say this is fully sponsored video, but I've got it for free, so in my head this is kind of sponsored because I didn't pay for it. The caveat here is that I don't really send any videos to anyone sending me products for acceptance or review or changes. So if you're sending me products, you're gonna have my honest opinion on it, whether you like it or not. Now, if it's really shit, I would normally send it back because I don't like shitting on products, but also if I don't understand it, and I might not just be the right audience for it. With this thing though, I'm pretty impressed with the performance, but there are a few things that were less than ideal, and I'll explain in a second. The great thing, for me at least, is that it works out of the box, and as I've mentioned earlier, you can put any NAS software on this to run the whole thing. I don't really want to do that because the built-in software works okay, and I appreciate if you're getting into customization of NAS servers, you might look somewhere else, but I just can't be bothered myself. And as a standalone product, this works just fine for pretty much all my needs. And most of my uses is just the storage of data and accessing it when I'm away from home. Also accessing that data from different devices across my household. I've been using RAID setups for quite some time. I never had network attached storage because I never felt the need. And when I started feeling the need, I checked the prices of Synology drives, and it's bonkers expensive. I think the 8-bay Synology setup sets you back something like $1,500 on its own, plus you need to buy the drives, and I was just looking at this going like, I honestly can't afford that. Whereas this thing comes way cheaper. I know there's quite a few people claiming that Zima or any other NAS can replace your cloud storage, and I don't really agree with that. I still feel like the cloud storage, something like an iCloud, keeps your data more secure because this can still burn down, your house can burn down, all this kind of stuff. And I've never had any issues with the iCloud apart from the fact that you have to pay a monthly fee. And there's a certain threshold where I'm comfortable paying for, but you can't have like 164 terabytes of data like you can with this guy. I mean, it's not going to be cheap because hard drives are still fairly expensive, but it's massively cheaper than buying separate external drives and then connecting them all to your computer and then wondering where your files are when you try to find that one piece of footage you need for that one specific project. Whereas with your NAS, you can combine it in a RAID setup, as I showed you before, and you've got everything centralized on one source. The obvious bottleneck of this device is not only the hard drive speed, like I mentioned before. There's only 3 hard drives in this right now. I don't have any SSDs installed, but that's slightly less relevant because this doesn't sit in my office for 2 reasons. One of them being the fact that I don't have an Ethernet cable up in my office, and the reason for that is I don't want to drill through British housing because they're all made out of cardboard and cheese, and I really don't want the whole thing coming down on me. The second reason is that because this thing is loud as hell, even when it's in idle. Now, my dog is typically scared of everything. She absolutely hates my electric skateboards. All the high-pitched noises are just a no-go. Vacuum, oh my god, we got wars over that. But with this thing, she's not really keen on getting any close to it, as you can see here. Nope. Toffee. 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 And I've reached out to Zima about this, going like, well, you know, it's pretty bloody loud. And they've asked if it's a CPU fan, but these are actually the 2 extractor fans at the back of the cube. But I found a solution to this, which are these fans. So these guys are my typical go-to for our silent cooling. I'll put them on the cube and I'll record hopefully a B-roll if I'll find time to do that, just to see how much difference they're gonna make. Zima Cube comes with a full-fledged app store, and you got loads of stuff there that I have no desire of using myself, apart from few apps like the Plex, which allows you to stream all your movies across all the devices in your household, or if you're away from your home and you want to access the movies you've got stored here, whether it's your family stuff or movies that you fully legally acquired at some point.
How hard can it be? Altimeter. Okay.
This is more than a NAS solution, which is slightly beyond my personal needs, but you can add graphics card to this thing and also expand RAM. Now, there's few people testing out the Game Pass, the Xbox Game Pass on this, so you can play games on your Mac, and I know all the PC users out there are gonna go like boo on this, but it is a possibility. You can run a virtual machine on this. You've got a Windows pre-installed and all the Windows apps that come with it. You can access both within your home, but also when you're away. So that might be handy for some of you. It's not really something I would use personally. I've been using the file sharing function quite a lot, and the great thing about this is that you don't have a file size limitation. So if you use WeTransfer and you use free version, you're limited to, I think it's 2 gigabytes or something like that, and most of the edits, especially if you do 4K, and God bless you if you do 8K, they are pretty hefty. Now with this one, it doesn't really matter. You can slap 1 terabyte file on there and share the link, and well, you can share the link, but you have to remember that your upload speed is the bottleneck here. So if you're sharing a 1 terabyte at 150 meg upload, it's gonna take a while. But in the same time, if you're uploading the same file to any cloud server, that's your bottleneck. So the time saved or gained is going to be pretty much the same. It's just the person receiving the file needs to be a little bit more patient instead of you totally clogging up your home broadband for hours. And the upload speeds on my Wi-Fi are absolutely spot on. I don't really feel like it's much slower or any slower than my standard hard drives hooked into my laptop. Obviously with an SSD that will be faster, but given the limitations of hard drives, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, if you want to dive into specs, there's loads of YouTubers who took this thing apart. They tested every single bit of the speed, of the PCIe Express ports, RAM configurations, different systems installed onto the cube. And if you're all into that stuff, you need to look somewhere else. But if you are a creator or you just need that unified storage space of data you personally own, I think this is not a bad solution given the amount of slots you've got for hard drives, for SSD drives. Given the price of it, I am pretty impressed how well they did here. Because as I mentioned, Synology asks for silly money for what I'm guessing is going to be similar experience for someone like me. And again, if you're a power user, you might have a different opinion on that. But for my personal needs, this is great. And this is definitely going to stay with me as part of my core setup. Whether you should get one of these or not, I'm not gonna get into that because, as I've mentioned, I've got this one for free, so I can't be a real judge here, but given the price point, I think this is a pretty good deal for a NAS that has quite a few extra capabilities beyond just being a storage solution. But it's something that you need to decide for yourself. I will definitely be keeping this one as my home server because it does everything I need it to do. Apart from the loudness thing, but I'm gonna put those new fans on. I'll put it at the end of the video so you can see the difference. You can probably avoid installing those silent fans if you can store it somewhere like in your garage or laundry room, somewhere when you don't hear it working. All right, so this bad boy is gonna replace these guys here. This is significantly better. The other problem is that they're now sticking out quite a bit, so the cover is not gonna fit, because I'll do this. Yeah. There is, however, a solution for that as a 3D print model that someone made online, and I'm gonna link it up in the description. I'm not really bothered, don't really care about the cover on the back of it, but yeah, noise problem solved. So that's all from me. If you have any questions about Zima Cube, drop them down in the comments. I'll do my best to reply to them, and have a good one.